Hello everybody, Matt here once again, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my movie guilty pleasures. So these are movies that either the audiences really didn't like or just didn't really do well at the box office, and so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys those now. So to start us off, we have the Three Stooges movie. Now this movie, really, it's not even really that funny if I'm being completely honest. There's just something about this movie that I find really completely charming. I've seen it a few times. It's not one that I'm constantly rewatching, but I actually really like this movie for what it is. But I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about this movie like at all whatsoever since it's come out. And I do think it deserves more credit than it gets. Next up, we have the movie I, Robot. So this is a movie that I also don't ever hear anyone ever talk about, and I feel like no one else has actually seen this movie. But this has been a childhood favorite of mine ever since I was a little kid, especially since when I was really little. I was really obsessed with robots and stuff. So I'm pretty sure there actually is I'm pretty sure this is a reboot of something else. So I've never seen that before, but I've seen this movie many times, and I looked up some of the critics and stuff, and it seems like no one really liked it, but I actually thought this one was really good, so I don't really know what anyone else is talking about. The next movie we have isn't just one movie, it is actually a trilogy, and that is the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies 1, 2, and 3. Notice I didn't include The Long Haul because I absolutely hate that movie, and I will never watch that movie ever again in my entire life. However, that said, the first three movies I find really enjoyable. I know they have just kind of little kid humor in them, but I find all three of them really good. I think I like Roderick Rules probably the least, but even that one I really like too. There's just something about these movies that, like the Three Stooges, are just really charming. And I can watch these probably at least once a year. I think they're really fun to watch, and I don't see what the disappeal is. I'm not a kid anymore, and I still enjoy these movies. And as far as I'm concerned, there's only 3 of them. Next up, we have another trilogy, and that is the Maze Runner trilogy. So that includes the Maze Runner, Scorch Trials, and the Death Cure. Now, the first one I wouldn't necessarily call a guilty pleasure, and by that I mean it seems like actually a good amount of people did, in fact, actually like the first one, but they didn't really care for the sequels. Whereas even though I kind of thought they got worse each time, I still enjoyed all 3 of them. And yes, I actually do enjoy the Scorch Trials more than I do the Death Cure, but I do like all 3 of them. I can see why people might not really care about these, and that's because it's the whole teen dystopian future type thing. And I usually don't like those movies as well, except for maybe like the first Hunger Games. But for some reason, I really liked basically all the characters in these movies except for Teresa, and so I actually find them really enjoyable, and I like them enough to buy them, obviously. So now the next movie we have is The Indian in the Cupboard. This movie, unlike the other ones I had mentioned, I know this is a bad movie. It's really corny and cheesy. It's really not that good, but there's something about this movie I have always loved ever since I was a little kid, and I rewatched this on New Year's, and I still really like this movie. It's really, I don't know, there's just something about this I really like, but it really is not that good of the movie. The main kid in it, Omri, I can't remember if it's Emery or Omri. It's that kid right there in the blue. He is really bad. I don't know, but something about this movie I've always liked. So a lot of people are probably going to be annoyed that I like this movie, but the next one I have is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and this is the reboot of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I'm just gonna go around and say it. I actually prefer this to the original. I think that might be because I've seen this one more, and I grew up with this one, where I think I've only seen the original twice. I've seen this one several times, and I don't know, something about this movie I just always liked. And Willy Wonka in this movie just seems absolutely like creepy, and whereas in the first one he did feel off, in this one I feel like he's straight up, he purposely wants the kids to hurt. I don't know, there's just something about this movie I always really liked, and if I'm being honest, I would always pick this one over the first one if I had to watch one or the other. Also, if you guys have seen my superhero collection video, then you would know that these two were in it. And yes, that is Fantastic Four, 2004, and Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Now, I know these movies aren't that great, and they're not even that good of superhero movies. But I have always liked these movies ever since I was a little kid. Now, I did not like Fantastic at all. I don't think I've really ever liked that movie. That one had nothing on it at all. But these movies, though really not that great, have always just been really fun movies. Not so much this one, but the first one especially, I really enjoy. I do actually like this one though, but I definitely like this one more. And I am waiting for us to get an actual really good Fantastic Four movie, but if I'm being completely honest, I really like these movies and I probably always will, so. Next up, we have the Muppets Take Manhattan. Now, this one I haven't watched in a few years, so I might not like this as much as I remember. I did like a lot of the Muppets movies growing up. I didn't like these new Disney ones they did at all whatsoever, but I really like some of these old ones. I find them really fun to watch, especially the Christmas one, which I do not have. But I've probably seen this one the most out of all of them. It's just about, I don't know, I just always liked the whole getting the gang back together type of movies, and I've always enjoyed this one. Maybe this isn't guilty pleasure. I do know a lot of people like the Muppets, but I don't know. I never saw this as particularly that great, but I don't know, I enjoyed it. Another movie that I don't find particularly that funny is The Benchwarmers, but I have always loved this movie again since I was a little kid, and I've seen it over and over again, and one of my favorite movies is actually Napoleon Dynamite, and the guy who plays him, John Heder, is in this movie, so it's really nice to see him again. Like most Happy Madison movies, the humor really isn't like spot on, but I always found them quite entertaining. I don't know, something about these types of movies just always kind of give you that at-home feel. I don't know what it is. So the jokes in this, a lot of them really don't land, and this really isn't that great of a movie, but I definitely will watch this sometimes when I'm feeling bored, and I still really enjoy it. Now, the last one on this list, like the Indian in the Cupboard, is really bad, and that is Jungle to Jungle. So, one thing that annoys me about this off the bat is that it's called Jungle to Jungle, and it puts a number 2 here, but this is not a sequel. This is literally the only one. I've tried to find the first one, and guess what? The entire time, this is the first one. So this movie is really stupid, like really stupid, but it's very Tim Allen, and I always loved Tim Allen. I don't know, I used to watch this, so once a week my grandpa and aunt would watch me when I was younger, and I think I watched this every single time that I went to their house. I haven't watched this in a while, and I certainly know it's not a good one, but I really, it's such a bad movie, but this movie is just so, fun and corny, and I don't know, it's just, I love it. It's just, I love it.